crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. Do you love your tiny red cardinals from this month's paper pumpkin kit and wish you had more? Well, the brother ScanNCut can help you create more cardinals. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take the stencil that came with the paper pumpkin kit this month and create many, many more cardinals out of poppy braid cardstock so that you can use them on your projects. Okay, let's get started. Now, in one of the paper pumpkin groups that I'm in on Facebook, there was a lady talking about this topic. She got her paper pumpkin kit before I did, and she was like, boy, I love those cardinals and I wish there were more of them. And I said, oh, when I get my kit, I could do a scan and cut tutorial on how to cut out the stamped images. Okay, so then I got the kit and I'm playing around with the kit and I look at it, and here's the stamped images, by the way. There's a cardinal. And I was like, oh, I could stamp that in poppy braid, and I could scan it in, like I've been teaching online on how to cut out stamped images. But then I was like, I have a stencil. So why would I go and do that? Why would I do all that extra work when all I really need to do is scan this in? So I tried it and I was like, oh, this works so well that I have to share this with my crafty friends, this brother ScanNCut tip and trick. All right, so first thing is get your little stencil. I hope you didn't throw it away. It was in your paper pumpkin kit. And we popped out all the little birds, okay, and we created cards with them. Okay, so I did a video on 13 projects you can create using your paper pumpkin kit. So check out that video. I'll have it linked at the end of this video. But see, we made birds, okay, in the kit. We popped out the birds and we decorated them. I mean, we made cards. I didn't mean we made birds. We did not make birds. We made cards. Okay, so that's how I used the birds in the kit. So save that stencil. You're gonna use some painter's tape, and you have to put the stencil onto a solid background. I recommend white. I'm using Whisper White because you need a really good contrast. So you need to put the poppy. This is poppy braid stencil. You need to put it onto a don't put it on the mat. In other words, look how here. Let me just show you that, crafty friends. Look how dirty my mat is. This would totally interfere with how well this scans in. So you need contrast. So you need to put this on a solid background. Use glue dots, use painter's tape, whatever. But just make it so you have room to frame the part you want. Okay? I'm using the right side of my mat just because, I use the right side of my mat usually. It sticks better. All right, so I'm using the SDX125. I've done this technique with many machines, so I know it'll work on other models. Just follow along and do what do the same thing with any model. All right, so here we go. We're going to load the mat. And we're just going to use this button here, load the mat. All right. I like to anticipate questions before they happen, and I have a lot of students in my ScanNCut classes. So you might be thinking something. By the way, all we've done is load the mat. Okay, I'm going to go to scan. You might be thinking, Papered Chef, what if I want to create a load of these cardinals in different sizes? If you wanted to create different size cardinals, you would use ScanNCut data. And that is not this tutorial. Right now, we're going to be using direct cut because we're not creating different size cardinals. I like this size cardinal, and I like to keep my tutorials practical. When would you need bigger cardinals than this? They don't have a lot of detail. So you wouldn't want to enlarge something without a lot of detail. In other words, if you have a stamped image, you might want to make a larger image of it with ScanNCut data, but not something that has just such little detail. If you were to make this larger, it would look like a big blob. It might not even look like a good bird. It looks really good because it doesn't have a lot of detail, but it's small. That's the reason it looks good. So I'm not going to personally use ScanNCut data on this bird. I don't want to make it larger, smaller, or anything like that. I like the exact size it is, and it works for this woodland forest. Okay, so that's why I'm using direct cut, because I want to directly cut out these birds exactly as they are at the exact same size. So I'm using direct cut. Okay, so let's get that out of the way because I know you're probably wondering that. All right, direct cut. Now it's asking next, where do you want to store the information? Okay, so I want to store it on my machine. Okay, that's just a temporary storage spot. You can use black and white recognition mode even though I'm using a poppy braid stencil because it has good contrast between the foreground and the background. We don't need color recognition mode. That would be changed in here if you did need it, but you don't need it. And scan area is 12 by 6 because we only have something in the top right corner. We don't need to do a whole 12 by 12 scan. So to save time, just do a 12 by 6 scan. Okay, again, I'm using that painter's tape to keep the stencil, and it even still thinks the paper's thick. So sometimes you might have to say, move the scanner lever to 2 because it still thinks it has thick paper because my stencil might be, you know, popping up on the right side. So we're going to do it again. And it says your scanner lever is set to position 2. That's okay. It just sees my paper as being thick and it set it to position 2. No big deal on your scanner if it does that. I mean, I'm going with it because my paper is thick. It's double thickness right now. It has a stencil on top of a Whisper White cardstock. All right, so now this is what we have. Let me take a sip of my drink so my throat is not scratchy. All right, so here we go. There's what we have. There's our bird. There are birds. We're gonna say okay. We want to frame the cardinals. So we want to take our little stylus and we want to frame in just the cardinals like that. Now you still might have a couple remnants you might still have a couple little pieces. So we can delete those if we get any extra remnants. Let's see. We're going to zoom in. I don't think, yeah, there's a little extra piece down there. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we have a couple little things to delete. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say preview and see. And say okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and see, I want to edit out that little tiny extra bit there. See that? So if you ended up with any extra little pieces, like that's a little piece of tape, you can toggle through. This is how to toggle through what's selected on your screen. In fact, let me zoom in so my crafty friends can see that. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm toggling the selection, the items. So I just want that item there, but if not, I just toggle. I could toggle around and select different ones. I could select it with my mouse too. Okay, this is just going through all the different birds. Okay, I'm just showing you that. So that's just a little tip and trick. And by the way, I don't want an outline distance. I'm going to trash the one I don't want. I don't want an outline distance around my birds. Let me zoom back out. Because I like them. The artist who came up with this kit is brilliant. Who came up with this paper pumpkin kit. So I really like the birds at the same size they're at. I don't want to put an outline distance around them. That would make them bigger. I don't want to make them bigger. I want to make them the exact size they are. That's why I'm cutting them. Okay, I'm cutting them. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to say cut. However, crafty friends, don't unload your mat. Just do this. Just take this off the mat. Okay, you don't want to cut this, right? If you cut this right now, you'd end up with a bunch of white birds. You'd be cutting through the stencil and you'd end up with a bunch of white birds. We don't want white birds. We want poppy prayed birds. Or if you do want white birds, maybe you don't have poppy prayed cardstock. I happen to have poppy prayed cardstock, so I'm going to put a piece of poppy prayed cardstock right on the mat, right where this was, right in the top right area. And I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to cut these birds out in cardstock, okay? It's going to take 2 minutes. I'll be back. But I'm just letting you know, if you don't have poppy prayed cardstock, maybe use real red cardstock or cherry cobbler, or whatever color cardstock you have. Or maybe you can cut them out in white. And then you could color them with your markers. But either way, you want tiny little birds. All right, see you in 2 minutes. Okay, it only took us 2 minutes to cut out all those cardinals. So we're gonna say finish cutting, okay. And we're gonna just unload the mat, and then I can show you the rest of what you need to do. Okay, so let's move the ScanNCut up here. Okay, out of the way. Now, I'm going to tilt my camera down. These are the ones I cut before as a practice. And then here are the ones we just cut now. So, recall. Let me just peel this poppy prayed off the mat while I'm talking. Okay, recall. And we had to do the switcheroo with the paper. Okay, so what we scanned in is this. Okay, we scanned in the stencil. I have 2 paper pumpkin kits, so I'm going to show you kind of the big picture here. My paper pumpkin kits arrive. I'm like, oh no, I need more cardinals. Okay, I don't have a refill kit because we're not having refill kits, you know, right now. Not until maybe later, but right now they're not even having refills for this kit. So you're like, oh no, I really love these cardinals. I want more. This is the way they came. So the stencil came in your paper pumpkin kit with your supplies. You were able to pop out the cardinals and use them for your projects. Okay, Advantage is you had them already popped out for you, or you can pop them right out. Disadvantage, look at that. They're white on one side. Not with the ones we just cut out with the ScanNCut. When we cut them out in Poppy Parade with the ScanNCut, let's peel off a Cardinal. Actually, no, I don't want to peel it off yet because I want to show you something. But we get, because the cardstock is double-sided, we get Cardinals that are Poppy Parade on both sides. Okay, look, this is what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the one we did on the ScanNCut versus the one that we started out with from Stampin' Up! Inside the Paper Pumpkin Kit, okay? What I want to do is compare these two. Here, I'm going to put them on top of each other to compare them. Okay, so here we go. Look at that. Is that amazing or what? This sure saves us from having to stamp those. I don't think you need to stamp them when you try this technique. If you want to scan in and stamp or cut out your stamped images, I have taught that many times on this channel. So I can even do it again for this one, but I don't think you need to. Take your stencil, scan it in, do the switcheroo, switch it out. Okay, I did it earlier. Switch it out. Take the white paper and switch it out for cardstock. Now, back to the cardstock being double-sided. This gives you an advantage. Let me zoom in. When you use cardstock instead of a stamped image, you have all these little birds. You should be taking your spatula, by the way, which is not handy. Okay, let's just take a bird. See? And now you have a double-sided bird. See? See? So now you can do more things with it because you could take the birds, which are in two different shapes, right? And then you could turn them both ways. So now you have two birds, two different style birds, but then you really have four different style birds. Where'd he go? Here, we'll have to get another one. He's already gone. Here you go. See? You have two style birds, but then when you do the little flip, right? You can flip them around, then you have four different style birds. But if you stamp your image and cut out your stamped image from the Paper Pumpkin Kit, which I'm not even gonna do because unless somebody really needs me to do it, because I do, follow a lot of my tutorials are based on viewer questions. Okay, so anyway, without having to cut out the stamped image, and even if you do cut out the stamped image, the advantage of cutting out a stamped image is you can get a little border around the outside of it. Nice little, like you could stamp them in any colors, and then you could like get a nice white border around the edge of your stamp. But still, this is a lot better, I think, because now you have just Poppy Parade cardstock. All right, so if you're new to my channel, please subscribe and know that at the end of all my videos, I like to show something practical, like what can you do with this newfound knowledge, right? I always like to show you some projects. Well, I'm not going to rehash the 13 projects I created on YouTube for this Paper Pumpkin Kit, okay? I did create 13 projects, so here's a sneak peek. I created 13 projects, so check out that video, which will also be linked at the end of this one in the description, okay? Check out my Paper Pumpkin video on 13 things you can make with the Paper Pumpkin Kit. But I wanted to make something special using Cardinals. I said, if I'm going to show my viewers how to make this many birds, what can you do with lots of extra birds? And here's what I came up with. This project I just thought of. Okay, so for my Paper Pumpkin Kit, it came with stamps like Season's Greetings, wherever it's at, Winter Wonders, right? The stamp set that came with the Paper Pumpkin Kit. It came with Season's Greeting, Winter Wonders, okay? But I had a different idea. I thought, what could I do with all these little birds? And this is what I came up with. I came up with, there's a stamp set in our holiday catalog. If you'd like a holiday catalog, just use the contact form in the description of this video. Let me make some room here. Okay, I came up with this stamp set, Birds of a Feather. I thought, look at this sentiment. Wishing you a joyful Christmas from our little flock. Now there's a way I can use up a lot of the birds, right? So that's how I came up with the idea for this project. And so I tried stamping onto the woodlands, and I just want to give my crafty friends a little tip about this project. So when I stamp this by the way is sparkled, these little woodlands. And you can get two out of each card front. You can make two of these tags or bookmarks, and they're sparkles. But when you try to stamp onto sparkly paper, it didn't work. It didn't really work. So look, I wanted to keep that and show you. That's why I didn't put together the second tag. It doesn't really work to stamp onto sparkly paper. It doesn't come out as dark. I used Night of Navy, by the way, Night of Navy ink. Here's the ink here are the colors I used, Night of Navy and Poppy Parade. But I didn't actually need the Poppy Parade ink because, as you saw, I used the stencil. I didn't need the ink. I was about to do all the stamping when it came to me, self, I thought self, I'm going to use the stencil, and I came up with that idea, so I didn't do the stamping. But anyway, I did use Night of Navy, wishing you a joyful Christmas from our little flock. But then I did it on there's a sparkly side and there's an opaque side, meaning this side that doesn't have the sparkles on it, it really does a better job of stamping onto that side. So that's how I came up with my tag. I stamped onto that side. Then I just glued it onto a piece of, and I'm going to have the measurements in the description, but I just want to tell you, I used 2 inches by 5.5. That way you can get a lot of bookmarks out of one 8.5 by 11 paper. So 2 inches by 5.5. Now this one is 1.75 inches by 5.5. Okay, and those are the 2 layers. Night of Navy cardstock and Poppy Parade cardstock. This is a little piece from the Paper Pumpkin Kit on the non-sparkly side. So if it's a sparkly side, I used the non-sparkly side. I just want to tell you how I did everything. Then I used this punch, Delightful Tag Topper Punch. All my materials are linked in my description. I know a lot of you are already Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, so you get your discount. If you need a demonstrator, use the links in my description, and you will be able to get these products. Okay, so that's, what else? Oh, the snowflakes. The snowflakes came in the kit. These little snowflake embellishments, sequins, they came in the kit. And then I used, I've already showed you the stamp set, the ribbons. Okay, I like to tell you all the materials I use for my projects, just in case you want to recreate this. Okay, so I wanted the bamboo to be sparkly again, not bamboo. Oh gosh, you know me and my woodlands, the birch. I think it's birch. Someone's going to correct me. Nature people, right? All right, it's this tree. I wanted it to be sparkly again because I used the opaque side of the laser cut, dies that came with the kit. So what I did is I used Wink of Stella. That's the glitter pen, and I made these trees sparkly again. And I'm going to try something going this direction too. I'm going to try having the birds sit on the branch horizontally and see how that looks. But of course I would have to cut the sentiment and change the orientation of the sentiment. Anyway, back to the ribbon. I used linen thread from a previous Paper Pumpkin Kit, and I used braided linen trim for the top of the bookmark or tag. All right, so that's all for now. This is the Paper Chef, and I hope you enjoyed this Brother ScanNCut tip and trick, and I hope you get to use it right away to multiply those cardinals from your Paper Pumpkin Kit and create lots of cool projects, and I'd love you to share them with me when you do. Thank you.